from Team Dark Strategies, Jace here, headed into yet another battle report. 1,000 points tonight. Ultramarines versus Death Guard. I will be fielding the Adeptus Astartes, and John will be bringing his personal Death Guard army. It's been a while since John has played the Death Guard, so he's going to use this game kind of as a practice game, just to see what units work, what units don't work. And then me personally, I want to watch the Death Guard because I'm building a Death Guard army this summer. It's one of my bigger projects coming up, so I'm also curious to see what units work and what, ones that maybe not going to work in at least 1,000 point list. Because usually when I build an army, it starts out, kind of 500 points to 1,000 points, 1,250, 1,500, and then 2,000 altogether. So that will be that. Like and subscribe if you've enjoyed the battle reports thus far. It's been fun creating them and playing them and documenting them on our channel. So let's get into the battle. For tonight, we're going to go over the tabletop review for this battle. 1,000 points, Death Guard versus Ultramarines. As you can see, we have our Imperial Shrine World set up tonight. All the cathedral buildings on all four corners, with the glorious large statue in the middle. As far as how we're going to play them, the runes, all four of these runes are +1 to your cover save when you're in the footprint of the building. In the footprints, essentially, just draw a line around the perimeter of each structure. In the center, we just have a line of sight blocking. Same here on all four sides, very large line of sight blocking buildings. We do have a lot of trees, as you can see. The more spot scatter terrain for the trees, those are just there for looks, essentially. But we do have a set up symmetrically down no man's land, a perimeter of trees around a small shrine that will give dense cover. So -1 to hit when shooting through it. Same thing on this side. So when you look at the deployments, we're going across the short end of the board. So we have, the short end deployments behind the green triangles. So one side here and one side over here. So that'll be interesting. 24-inch no man's land is usual standard. There are 4 objectives on this table, 1 in each of the deployment zones, kind of just shy across the border of into each ones. And then we do have the 1 objective right on the center line and another one on the center line of no man's land. So that's deployment, that's objectives, and that is terrain. You can see down the kind of the lines here, for deployment, you'll be shooting through that forest. Down the middle, you have this big statue to contend with. And then again, down this side, you have -1 to hit. So there will be a lot of cover in this game. Once armies start to get out into the center, it'll be much more open. And then supporting troops, of course, have a lot of options to be in these ruined buildings and fire out, because in these cathedral buildings there are windows pretty much everywhere that you can get a bead on your enemy and get some shooting in. So this will be pretty fun. I'm looking forward to this. It's themed Ultramarines kind of protecting this shrine world from the Death Guard encroaching upon it. Let's get into the battle. 1,000 points of Ultramarines. This is a combat patrol detachment. In the HQ slot, I do have a Primaris Librarian. His warlord trait is Adept of the Codex, so he'll be refunding CPs on 5+. He also has the Reliquary of Galthalamore. That will help with some -1 to the opponent's psychic tests. Plus, if they do fail a psychic test within his range, it will do some mortal wounds to them. He is coming to the battle with Smite, of course, Null Zone, and Psychic Scourge. In the Combat Patrol Troops section, we do have 1 unit of 5 Intercessors with bolt rifles. And in the Heavy Support slot, we do have 3 Eliminators with las fusiles. A lot of cover on this board, so that 2 up to hit should help, getting through those -1 to hit covers and they can hunt some vehicles. More than likely, the Death Guard will be bringing some vehicles, so they should hopefully do some damage. And then, of course, we do have the Gladiator Lancer. I think this is game 3 since he's been freshly painted, so we're still rooting for him to provide some anti-tank firepower and hopefully stick around. In the elite section, we have 2 Redemptor Dreadnoughts, of course. I don't leave home without them. Macroplasma Incinerators on the big gun, underslung Onslaught Gatling Cannon, and then the chest mounts are the Fragstorm missile launchers, and then the Icarus rocket pod on the top, and the same for this guy as well. And lastly, in the fast attack slot, we do have 4 Inceptors. Normally I bring 3, but the way the points worked out, I fit 1 more in there. So we do have engage on all fronts, so hopefully, they'll provide some firepower turn 2, turn 3, and then, get those engage on all fronts and possibly even retrieve Nachman data. So that is what we are bringing today, 1,000 points against the Death Guard. Let's see what they have.
So here we have the Death Guard, and then leaders we have Typhus, then we have a Plaguecaster there. Then we have 9 Marines. Our leader has a Power Fist, and 1 in the company has the Flail of Corruption. Typhus will have Curse of the Leper and Gift of Contagion. Our Plaguecaster will have Pestilence Vitality and Miasma of Pestilence. Then we also have 20 Poxwalkers, 1 Chaos Predator with an autocannon, 2 heavy bolters, and 1 Kami bolter. In the center we have the Plague Burst Crawler, and then for the left one we have the Rhino with the Kami bolter. And that was my 1,000-point army for today.
John and I just finished deploying our armies. John won the roll-off for Attacker Defender. He chose Defender and picked this deployment on this side, so we can kind of see why he picked that. Both sides are pretty symmetrical as far as terrain placements and line of sight blocking with that big statue in the middle. But he picked this side, and then that brought the Ultramarines over to this side. So while I'm over here, I'll go over my deployment, and then we'll go over John's deployment of where each unit is. For my HQ, the Librarian is tucked away here in this big cathedral. He's kind of back to the wall here, trying to get out of line of sight of anything coming through the window on that. Outside of the building is the Redemptor Dreadnought on the right flank, and he's not in the building, just on the back side of the building. Right down the middle, there I go again, putting the Gladiator kind of out in the open, but with that line of sight blocking here with the Angel, theoretically it should be okay. First turn we'll see. And then Redemptor Dreadnought on the left flank, so kind of bracketing my forces here with Redemptors. And then inside the ruined cathedral here is 5 Intercessors, ready to maybe come up field when they're ready. And then up in the cathedral here, we do have the Eliminators looking out the windows to hopefully pop some armor. So that is deployment. We have Inceptors in reserves for the Ultramarines. On this side, John can go over his deployment.
In the center we have the Poxwalkers holding down that objective. Behind them we have the Predator. On the left we have the Plague Burst Crawler. And in the Rhino we have 9 Marines plus the Plaguecaster inside ready to come out. And then we have Typhus waiting to come down and tear up some Space Marines.
Yeah, look at those awesome tanks. Conversion work, green stuff, tentacles, all that good stuff. So that is deployment. We're going to roll off here on camera first turn. So let's see here. Space Marines roll 3, and Death Guard get first turn with a 4. So Death Guard is going to go into top of turn 1 we'll have the secondary objectives up on the screen for you to review. So let's get into John's first turn. So movement phase has been completed. What happened, John?
So the pockworkers moved up, still in line of that objective. The predator moved over, hopefully trying to get some shots on that gladiator.
Yeah, he's got line of sight past this.
The crawler, he's going to stay still. He's just going to lob mortars over. And then the rhino advanced forward, trying to get closer. Didn't make it. I rolled a 3. But he's there.
And then we don't have any psychic phase right here because the malignant plague caster is in the rhino with the
Typhus coming down.
And yeah, typhus coming down turn 2 probably. So that is it. Let's get into the shooting phase and see how much damage turn 1 can do to the Ultramarines. All right, John just finished his shooting phase. A few things. Fire has been shot across the field here. The main thing here, John, was the Predator launched the autocannons, correct? Autocannon into the Gladiator. I popped smoke screen for 1 point, and just to get that -1. Hopefully, yeah, and it worked. There was no wounds coming through on the Gladiator, and then the Predator also shot the heavy bolters into the Eliminators, and they played transhuman just to try and save them because I believe it was multiple damage right on that.
Yes,
if those wounds
2.
were 2 damage. So that's what happened over here, and then John can tell us what happened. Where did we shoot the Plague Burst?
The Plague Burst mortar went into the Gladiator, hitting 3 times, but not wounding, only wounding once, and then Jace was able to save that 1 wound, so nothing really happened.
Yep. So the shots were fired, but no damage was taken. I'll take it. And then, John, at the end of the movement phase, you are spreading the sickness on this particular one. It's his secondary objective that he chose. So the Poxwalkers are going to spread the sickness, and you have a choice of rolling a 4 up to see if it goes off, or just taking D3 damage, or D3 mortal wounds. What do you choose?
I'm going to roll the dice of the 4 up.
Okay, let's see if the sickness spreads. It does. So this particular objective marker is contaminated. So that's will score John some points at the end of the battle. Let's get into Space Marines turn 1. Okay, so the Space Marines finished their movement and psychic phase. This is what happened. The Redemptor on the right flank here moved out on to this, I guess, right side, and we are going to hit that Rhino as best we can, see if we can crack that open. The Librarian did shift over right, and he's looking out the window. We'll get to what he did in the psychic phase shortly. The Gladiator shifted left here. We'll probably, again, put some shots into that Rhino. Eliminator stayed put. They have options. The Redemptor on this side swung around left, and again, we have some options as far as Poxwalkers, Predator. We can't see the Rhino from here, but options. Over here, we are performing Nachmund, retrieve Nachmund data, so they're staying put over there. In the psychic phase, I did smite, and it was a super smite, a double 6. I did take 2 wounds from the perils, but we did 3 wounds to the Rhino, so the Rhino is down to 7. And then I did attempt Psychic Scourge as well, and that did not go off. So that one's out. So that's what happened in the movement phase and psychic phase. Let's get into some shooting. Hopefully these plasma incinerators can charge up and do some damage. Ultramarine shooting phase has been completed. It wasn't too shabby. It could have been a little worse for John, but it is what it is. So what we did was we lit up that Rhino with everything we had from the Redemptor. John did play foul smokescreen. Not sure it helped too much. He may have stripped a couple hits off, but ultimately the Rhino did fall to the Redemptor, and one Plague Marine was killed in that encounter. It did not blow up. So that was that. So that is gone. On the other side of the board, this Redemptor targeted the Predator over here and did nothing with his macro plasma instead. He actually rolled 2 2s and 2 1s. So that was unfortunate on there, but his underslung Onslaught Gatling Cannon did strip off 3 or 4 of the four of the Poxwalkers. So I'll take that. Up here, the Eliminators fired into the Predator and only got 1 hit and 1 wound, but it did go through, so the Predator is down to 8 wounds. That was that. On the Gladiator, unfortunately, he did gun down a Plague Marine with the heavy stubber, the Icarus stubber there, but his big gun way down there with the Predator did not hit. Hit once and then did not wound. So unfortunate for he hasn't powered up yet in this game. And then last but not least, the Retrieve Nachman data. We did roll a 4, which is -1, so it was a 3. So we did get our Serval Skull on this objective. So that is that. It looks like John will be scoring 1 primary for holding this objective at the top of turn 1. So let's get into top of turn 1 and see what the points are. Of turn 2, Death Guard, movement and psychic phase. What did we move, John? Oh, we'll start over here.
So the Poxwalkers advance forward, but in my command phase, I also played the Dead Walk again, regaining all the 4 that were lost last turn.
Yes.
The Predator moves slightly to its left, still towing that 1 objective, but hopefully getting line of sight of this Redemptor or the one on the left side of the board.
Yeah.
And then the Plagueburst Crawler, he sort of inched, I think, left, so he's able to see that Redemptor as well. Hopefully landing some shots into him.
Yeah, the main thing here is we don't want that indirect fire -1, so John wanted to get true line of sight, so that'll be good for that.
And then the Plague Marines, along with the Plaguecaster, moved into that terrain for a -1. And also in the Psychic phase, the Plaguecaster was able to get off the Miasma, so it's an additional -1, but was able to get off a Smite, but was contested.
Yeah, the Librarian over here denied the Smite, so that didn't go off. So that, good movement, I think, on the Death Guard part. They are encroaching up the field, and now they're on 2 objectives versus my 1, so that was good positioning. Let's see if their firepower can at least maybe knock 1 of the Redemptors out of the battle. We'll probably see some focus firing. Death Guard, top of turn 2 shooting phase. Where did we target, John? We actually started out here with bolters.
Yeah, bolters into the Redemptor, doing no wounds.
No.
Then we have the Plagueburst Crawler, doing no wounds.
Unfortunate.
And then the autocannon.
Well, we did chip 3 wounds off. I think 1 did get through.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 1 got through. We got 3 wounds off on the Redemptor, but unfortunately, yeah, the autocannon rolled double 1s on
Double
its
1s
shots.
to number of shots, and I think I don't remember.
Yeah, that was that, really. So, pretty much the Redemptor got targeted this turn and lost 3 wounds total. So, unfortunate for the Death Guard. We were hoping that maybe he could chip one of these off. And John was contemplating about bringing Typhus down in this turn over here. But he was going to wait one more turn and bring Typhus in turn 3. So that's that. Let's get into Space Marines turn 2. Adeptus Astartes movement phase. We have to get out there now into no man's land, even though, you know, Death Guard are better up close and personal. So this Redemptor did move up. We'll probably engage with these over here in the trees, but we also have some shooting opportunities, maybe into the Predator or across into the Plague Burst Crawler too. This over here, the Librarian, since he is infantry, characters, from what I can tell, characters can still do this. He's going to do his Retrieve Nachman data on this quadrant, so hopefully that'll get me 2, which will make me 4 points, at least for now. And then over here, the Eliminator stayed put. The Gladiator moved up just a bit. We're within range now of the Poxwalkers with the Frag Storms and the Stubbers and everything involved there. On this side of the table, the Intercessors did break cover. They're going to put some rapid fire shots into the Poxwalkers. And like I said, I got to move upfield and try and get some more objectives. And the Redemptor also is supporting the advance here on the left flank. And then at the end of the movement phase, turn 2, the Inceptors came down into the building 9 inches away from both the Predator and the Poxwalker. So they're going to unleash all those shots into those Poxwalkers, see how many we can bring down. So that is that. Let's get into, there's no psychic phase because I am retrieving Nachman data over there with the Librarian. So let's get to the shooting phase. 2 shooting phase. Space Marines had a good time of it as far as the deadliness goes. So Redemptor over here split his shots. The big guns went into the Predator, and then the Predator did pop smoke as well. And then 2 shots went into here from all the other smaller gunfire. Nothing fell from the Redemptor here, but we did wound the Predator pretty hardcore on that side. Then the main goal on the left flank here was to try and soften up the Poxwalkers. As you can see, there's not many over there. We'll head over there next, but ultimately the Gladiator did charge up its gun and take that Predator down. It did blow up, and it took 1 Poxwalker with it. Over here, rapid fire bolt rifles and the Redemptor went all in on the Poxwalkers, as did the Inceptors, and brought them down to 3 left, unfortunately. And then over here, we decided to shoot into the Plague Marines in the forest over there. It was -2 to hit, but ultimately we did drop 2 Plague Marines. So we are going to try some charges here just to over there. I don't think this is a doable charge anymore, but let's see if we get into that. If not, we'll head into John's turn. Turn 3, movement and psychic phase for the Death Guard. Over here, the Poxwalkers, they moved up and they're doing spreading the sickness, right?
Spreading the sickness.
And then over here, we had an advance here with the Plague Marines and the Plaguecaster, and Mr. Typhus has arrived on the board. He's got 2 people in his sights right now. So John, Typhus did Curse of the Leper.
Doing 1 more wound.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was a very poor roll on those 7 dice in 1 wound. So the Librarian is down to 2. And then over here, there are a whole bunch of cards.
He gave the Redemptor Gift of Contagion, which is -1 to his strength. The Plague Caster did a smite, doing, how much was it?
4. It was a super smite, and yep.
And then also give vitality to the rest of the Plague Marines, so they have +1 to their toughness and strength.
So there's a whole lot of psychic powers going off on this side of the board. So let's get into some shooting. We do have the Plaguecaster to shoot and some other, not too much of the shooting. So let's get into that, and then we're going to get into probably some charges. Both charges did go off. Typhus got in with the librarian and just smoked him. Cleaved him in half. And then over here, the Plague Marines got in. Plague Flail and Power Fist doing most of the damage. Brought the Redemptor down to 1, unfortunately. He's still alive. And then Redemptor swung back and killed 1 Plague Marine. So that is it. They did spread the sickness on that one. So that is some points for John. And
I do have to roll for that.
Oh, yes, right.
So 4+.
Yes, 4+, because you probably don't want to take D3.
No.
All right, so it did go off, yes, on a 5. So let's get into Space Marines and see what is what. End of the bottom of turn 3, Space Marines. We just did it all in one. So what did happen? The Lancer here stayed put because it does want to keep on that objective. It unloaded everything into Typhus and brought 1 wound off of it, so Typhus is at 5. Over here, the Intercessors shot into the Poxwalkers and cleared them off. So that is scored. Inceptors over there are on that objective. And then over here, the Redemptor did shoot into combat, but did nothing. It was hitting on 6s because it was very crippled, down to 1 wound. And then ultimately in the assault phase, the Plague Flail brought him low. So that is a kill for that, and he did not blow up. So that was the end of turn 3. You can see on the board, it kind of, Ultramarines kind of shifted this way, and Death Guard kind of shifted this way. So we were getting a little bit of a swirl. I like the swirly type of games, but yeah, Death Guard do need to kind of push back now and see if they can't score some points in the late games, turn 4, turn 5. Top of turn 4, we just finished up the Death Guard. Plague Marines moved up here. Plaguecaster moved into the forest just a little bit more, and he cast Miasma of Pestilence on them.
Typhus moved forward, got the charge off into the Gladiator.
Yeah. Chopped him up pretty good. I think we're down to
5.
5 wounds on that, so Typhus is carving a bloody path.
The Plague Burst Crawler unloaded all its weapons into the
Inceptors. I played Transhuman Physiology on him just to try and deny, but 2 did fall from both the big gun and the flamers on there. So that was that. Let's get into Space Marines. Bottom of turn 4, and we're heading into the end of the game shortly. Turn 4, Space Marines, we did it all in one. Movement phase, the Inceptors moved out over here just to get a little bit out of range of the big gun there, but they are towing in on that objective to see if they can stay alive. The Redemptor moved forward to take on the Plague Burst Crawler. The Marines moved up, just trying to get engaged on all fronts here. Over here, the Eliminators stayed put, and the Lancer actually moved out. The big thing that happened this turn is the Gladiator Lancer did fall back, and luckily did get 1 shot through on Typhus and rolled the good damage on him. So Typhus unfortunately did fall for the Death Guard, and then over here just 1 wound was placed on some shots. So that was it. 8 wounds total was scored with, the objectives here. We held 2, and so that's that. So let's just get into the final round, and we'll wrap up this game. The Plague Marines moved up, as did the Plaguecaster. Plaguecaster did smite over here, and then they spread the sickness. They lost 1 with the D3 wounds, so that was that. And then the Plague Burst Crawler moved over, killed 1 Intercessor with the Plague Burst cannon, and then brought 1.5 of the Inceptors down. So that was it for that. So essentially, let's just wrap up the Ultramarines turn. So at the end of Ultramarine's turn 5, the Redemptor moved up, Intercessors moved up, Gladiator stayed put. So everything kind of stayed. We did chip the Plague Burst Collar 1 wound, but that is what it is at this point. The points have been made by the Ultramarine. So we will. I'll catch up in the end of game roundup and talk a little bit about the battle. Well, that one is in the books as well. Finished up Ultramarine's victory over the Death Guard. Turn 1, turn 2, it was somewhat even as far as points go. And then the Ultramarines kind of just took it away towards the end there. I thought when Typhus came in, he started to carve a pretty, bloody path through the Librarian, and then I thought he was going to take down that Gladiator and then, kind of just swirl left on my left flank and start taking out units. I think if the Gladiator did fall, it may have swung a little bit more in the points favor as far as Death Guard Ultramarines, but who knows? Every battle has that kind of who knows moment in it. So, the main goal here was to test out the Death Guard army. John was just getting back into, working with his Death Guard, so I think we pulled some information out of that. And then me personally, I wanted to watch the Death Guard because I am making a Death Guard army this summer. So my takeaways from the battle, I think on the Death Guard side, I think it was a little lackluster in the amount of damage output when it came to shooting. I mean, we had the Predator, we had the Plague Burst Crawler. They surprised me a little as their damage output. Turn 1, turn 2, it was a little lackluster, and it wasn't due to John's dice rolling either. He was rolling okay. It just, coming through onto the Ultramarines and trying to dish out some wounds, it just wasn't happening. And then in return, the Ultramarines were dealing out a lot of wounds. I mean, popping that Rhino, taking out the Predator, all by turn 2, turn 3. That was unfortunate just because we were exchanging high-powered artillery rounds, kind of across the battlefield, but I was holding strong and he unfortunately wasn't. So that swung, I think, the battle, in the Ultramarines' favor. So I don't know yet. I think Plague Burst Crawlers are still okay. I did buy 2 of them, kind of pre-bought them before, knowing. But and they did get the nerf, -1 to hit, and then, +1 cover. I don't know. It's still okay unit, I think. And then maybe, focus firing and maybe having a support unit around him to reroll ones or, reroll wounds or something like that. Maybe we can make Plague Burst Crawlers. I'm going to try to make Plague Burst Crawlers work. The Poxwalkers. A lot of Poxwalkers, one big unit of Poxwalkers. They did stick around till turn 3, but they ultimately just got whittled down. They did score 6 points as far as spreading the sickness goes. I still like Poxwalkers, just the cheapness of them. It is unfortunate that you can't just bring a Poxwalker army. You do have to bring, kind of balance out your Poxwalkers and your Plague Marines now. So we'll have to think that one through a little bit. Typhus is a boss, I think. He did some damage. I'm very curious to see if he did come down turn 2, how that would have affected the game. Because I know John was contemplating whether turn 2 or turn 3 drop. He decided ultimately to try and play it safe. He was banking on that Redemptor falling in turn 2 to gunfire, but unfortunately it just didn't. So I'd be curious to see if Typhus came down turn 2, if that would have disrupted the Ultramarines line enough to shift some of the objective grabbing in primaries and secondaries. So, interesting game. I hope you enjoyed it. It was fun to play. It was very gorgeous to see, the kind of classic Space Marines versus Chaos Space Marines on the tabletop. And then the blue and the green offset with the grays and the green trees were pretty beautiful to look at. And I for one, absolutely love that, getting down, kind of eye level during the battle and just kind of taking it in and taking that model's eye view in. It was fun on this particular one, just because it was kind of a classic matchup. So, like I said, we are testing out the Death Guard. Some things learned. I think John will kind of zero them in. We're going to test the Death Guard against some other armies too. you know, we were talking about after the game possibly doing a Death Guard versus Orc matchup, which would be kind of fun because, you know, Death Guard, you do want to have close proximity to your enemy, you know, with the contagions, and they are, you know, pretty beefcakey when it comes to assault. So, and Orcs, you know, they want to get up close and personal. So that actually might be a fun matchup to see what will happen. So that might be the next one. We'll see. We are also, you know, just talking demons as well, and you know, we do have the corn demons behind me here. We might maybe just have a more of a narrative story match. It'd still be match play, but you know, demons these days not really performing well, especially the just mono corn demons. But it might be fun to play those up against Grey Knights or even Death Guard, just to kind of have that rivalry going on. So that is that. Like and subscribe. We're going to get into the next one. Thank you for watching.